Good evening, setmates. Welcome to Shadows by the Firelight. Tonight we will be continuing our playthrough of the very excellent Shadows of New York from the good folks at Draw Distance. Tonight I actually don't have a lot to say before starting the stream. I've covered a lot of the backstory from Vampire and some of the clans that I thought would be relevant to the game so far. So essentially what I'm going to do today is, as you see, I've already booted the game, so today I'm going to focus a bit more on the game itself, and if there are things that warrant discussion or further explanation, I will expand on them as we go. Just to let you know, I'm, however, working on other content that I'm thinking about that I want to eventually probably not do live, probably going to upload those directly to YouTube, maybe in a month or so, a series of videos about Werewolf 5th edition. Not that there's a lot to be said in the sense that we barely know anything about the game itself and what's going to be in it, but I'm planning a series of videos about things that I think would be interesting to change. What actually prompted my line of thinking about that is actually Vampire 5th edition, which is the game this game we're playing is based on. V5 changed a lot of things, as I said last time, or the one before that, I think for the better. So I was thinking, if everything was free game, if everything could be changed, what would I change for W5? Not change for the sake of change, just things that I think would be the same kind of fresh coat of paint that V5 brought, essentially. But that is for another time. We are not there yet at all. Other content I've been thinking about was some episodes showcasing actually other games, other systems than the World of Darkness. In the last couple of years, I have widened my horizon a bit. I've looked into quite a few other systems, things like Lancer, Cult. They came from Beyond the Sea and Beyond the Grave, that kind of thing. And I was thinking that maybe it would be a good idea to show these games, essentially, to help people see other systems that are maybe less known, but that are extremely worth looking into. So look for that in the coming months on YouTube, some short, maybe 10-minute videos telling you what the gist of those games are, roughly how the system works, and what makes them tick. Why are they cool? So for tonight, that's all I wanted to say. I'm already ready to go. So usually I talk for about half an hour, and now I did it in 3 minutes. So I think we're really good on time for tonight. We should be able to get a good chunk out of this game. So let's begin. Last time we essentially saw the first couple of hours of the life of the character Julia, and actually almost immediately what the game did is that it time skipped a year. So we learned that Julia is the representative of the La Sombra clan in New York due to some political manipulation. People wanted her there. She was useful to some people, not a threat to others, so it just kind of made sense to the kindred of the city to choose her. And so she ended up with that unenviable position as a very, very young vampire to be just smack dab thrust into the middle of all of that kindred politics. To make matters worse, she is essentially the doorkeeper of New York. Any kindred that come into town has to go and see her, file all kinds of paperwork, answer her questions, and then she sends all that paperwork to the prince. In her own words, well, not words per se, because I don't remember exactly what she said, but Julia herself has explained that it was a shitty position, mostly because the really important people skipped her anyway and arranged that from elder to elder or primogen to primogen, or just went directly to the prince and basically ignored her. And we had a pretty good example of how little respect the Kindred of the City had for her when, after a Primogen meeting, she was on the street essentially greeting them, and most of them did not even address her at all, just went right by. They spoke to the other NPC next to her, which was the city's sheriff. Really cool character that I hope we'll get to see a bit more of tonight. But to her, they didn't say much of a word. So yeah, she does not like her new life. We also learned that she has a girlfriend, which was actually one of her close friends when she was mortal. And now she appears to be living with that mortal and their thing. Which is super cool from a relationship point of view and from a representation point of view. However, in terms of the safety of that character, not that cool. I don't know if she's declared her as her ghoul or anything like that, but Dakota is essentially a walking breach of the masquerade, so let's see how that develops. Last time we had a couple of choices of places where she could have gone to. I don't remember what the options were, but it felt like Julia needed a change of scenery, so I took the option where she chose to go someplace that was very different from her, someplace she wouldn't normally consider going to. Didn't know what that would end up being, but it looks like it was some kind of amusement park. So here we go. What was I thinking? I mean, even the most hopeless introverts yearn for company every now and then, be it the company of someone they know or a total stranger revealing themselves to be the soulmate they've always sought. Just looking at the chat quickly, Noman says good evening. Good evening to you too. Thank you very much for being there. Once again, thank you for being there every week, actually, since I've started. I think you haven't missed a single stream, so thank you so very much. I guess you're my VIP. Even for someone as neurotic as me, there's something enthralling in the idea of briefly trading your individualism for a place in the crowd. You can just wander around and stare, like a peeping Tom, hidden in plain sight. If there's anything missing from the shell of my previous social life, it's that intangible sensation, being a part of a living mass. But really, Coney Island, of all places? What was I thinking? Surely it's my id finally revealing what I've been missing all along. All my sick soul really wanted was to nibble on a Williams caramel apple while taking an overpriced Wonder Wheel ride. Well, I'm here. Might as well try at least one of those tourist traps. Sorry, my pronunciation is horrible tonight. We have the Spook-A-Rama, the Thunderbolt, or the Wonder Wheel. So I'm assuming the Wonder Wheel is, of course, the big wheel in the back. Spook-A-Rama is probably a haunted house type thing, and I have no idea what the Thunderbolt is. Well, this is a horror game. I think, unless chat has anything to say about it, that might be interesting. I think I'm going to go with the Spook-A-Rama. Could be pretty interesting to see a La Sombra, Masters of Shadows and everything dark, in horror. Not horror, but in a scary house. I get a feeling if there's any live actors in there, they will be a lot more scared of her than she will be of them. A goofy-looking rubber cyclops hanging over the entrance to the haunted house has a somewhat cheap but inviting appearance. I'd pay for the ticket in hope of seeing more of this sort of kitsch. I don't stick around until the end and storm out through the emergency exit. Jesus. I died. Drank a rat's blood once, lost the ability to use modern technology, and with all that in mind, I still consider this to be the worst experience yet. Not that I expected anything else, but still, I'm not sure what I was hoping for. Amidst the clouds of cigarette smoke, I notice an old woman perched silently by the wall. She looks like one giant wrinkle, but her gaze is lively and pierces right through me. Sorry, I just want to bring the mic a bit closer to me so I don't have to talk quite as loudly. I pulled a crumbled package out of my back pocket. My last smoke. As I raise the lighter, some pompous dick preoccupied with his visibly bored girlfriend shoves the cigarette out of my hand. Somehow, it's his ass-halved apology that pisses me off the most. The urge to drink him dry is strong, but I let it pass. I look beneath my feet. I can hear the old crone cackling as my cigarette sinks into the only puddle in the vicinity. Obviously. Fuck. I turn toward the exit and notice some brawny dude closing in on me. The way he's dressed has the same uncanny aura as Steve Buscemi walking through a high school corridor in a skater outfit. Except that Steve Buscemi is 1,000 times cooler than this guy. He gets right in my face and hands me a cigarette, pulling up a rather annoying smirk. Ooh. Is that who I think it is? Nope, it's not. Having a bad night, sweetheart? Leave me alone. It was fine up to this point, or don't respond. I'm gonna try not responding. I look the other way and attempt to walk past him. He completely disregards my reluctance and starts waving his hands erratically like a second-hand mime. It's a shame, but hey, you seem like a girl who likes to have fun. I know these things. I have something here, just for you. Want to check it out? Throughout this bizarre peacock dance, his colorful wristband pops up from behind his sleeve. Shit, man. How clueless can you be? Is this a hidden camera show, or maybe you're just some newbie being hazed by the rest of your undercover unit? Okay, so she thinks he might be an undercover cop or something. You can fake curiosity, keep ignoring him, or say fuck off. I guess I'll fake curiosity just to see where he's going with this. He really thinks I'll take the bait. Unbelievable. Okay, smartass, you're on. Well, what do you say? Keep talking. Why won't you follow me to my stash? I've got dope. Wow. Just wow. Let me stop you right there, Tony Montana. Less than 10 seconds and you rush straight to the finish line. Also, dope. You poor soul. You're out of your depth. Who put you up to this? I seem to have stuck a nerve, and he doesn't know how to handle it. Come on, big guy. Just give me a reason. Well, fuck you too, bitch! Now, that's just rude, and begs for a reaction. So I can either just walk away, or I can use Dominate to ask him to drop your act for everyone to see, or scare the haunted house visitors. Well, these guys didn't act for anything. This guy is a jerk. So I'm not going to torture the poor haunted house visitors when I can just torture him. And I have to say that using Dominate to get jerks or bullies or things like that to show their true nature is one of my favorite uses of Dominate. There was a great example of that in one of the Vampire the Requiem novels, actually. I'm not going to go into details, but oh wow, that man did not like his evening. He freezes in place as I gaze into his eyes. Flash your badge and state your name to every person in that crowd. He slowly turns on his heel and waddles away like an intoxicated penguin, yelling and waving his badge around for everyone to see. I'm Officer Brad Hines. I'm Officer Brad Hines. Brad Hines. Brad Hines, officer. His colleagues, two casually dressed guys sharing similar light blue wristbands, quickly show up to collect him, but he still keeps screaming his name at the befuddled group. Right, I forgot the cop part when I chose that. I thought he was just a jerk. I may have broken the masquerade, but I wanted to be a wise ass. That's not gonna help end well. Ah, well. We'll live with the consequences, or we'll get killed. Senel says, love it too. I assume you mean the uses of the masquerade to show these people a better way, let's say. Not a masquerade, the dominate, yeah. I agree. Seeing the old crone... Yeah, Stanil confirms. That's what she was referring to. I completely agree. Oh, wow. That is a legal issue right there. It's a boo from Mario. Okay, cool. I won't bring too much attention to it. Sorry I even did that bit. Seeing the old crone rolling in the aisles, laughing her heart out at that pig, suddenly makes the whole Coney Island trip worthwhile. She applauds me from afar. No one but me seems to know this. Maybe there is something more to this place after all. I casually wave back at the old lady as I take my leave. Guess that's enough human interaction for one night. Once more to the Big Beat Burger. Into the last fast food joint I'll ever know. I'll have the usual. The first time I used this line, I wasn't sure it would work, but I've gained enough notoriety among the staff that it does. The cashier just smiles, nods, and charges me for one black coffee. I can imagine them instructing the newbies. See that emo weirdo? Here's how it is. She always orders a single cup of coffee, nothing else, and she doesn't even drink it. For those wondering or who weren't there when I explained that, this is a common vampire trick. Here it seems to be backfiring a bit because Julia always goes to the same place, but vampires tend to try to look a bit more human by at least ordering something. People don't tend to look twice if someone who is supposed to eat actually has something on their plate or some at least something to drink. Usually they do go for something to drink, just not to waste the food because they can't actually eat anything. It's not that they don't want to, they literally can't. So a coffee is perfect for this. But usually you have to move around so people just don't go like, why doesn't she ever drink it? Meh. Probably wouldn't take a single sip even if I was still alive. The stuff is just trash. But at least being a buying customer gives me an excuse to sit here for as long as I want to. I wish I could use one of those self-order kiosks to minimize human contact. But touchscreens don't exactly like me. Not too long ago, I managed to blue screen 10 of them in a row. Oh well. Good news is, it doesn't look like I have anything to do tonight. The bad news is, it's because every kindred who matters is having fun at the art hole right now. It's not like I wanted to go, I just wanted them to invite me so that I could tell them to fuck off. I scanned the entrance to the restaurant through my peripheral vision. For those who weren't there last week, the art hole is the local city's Elysium. So that's the spot where vampires hang. And right now there's a big exposition, a big thing organized by the prince of the city. She made a point not to invite Julia. I scanned the entrance to the restaurant through my peripheral vision. Am I naively hoping someone will come and save me from misery? Guess I am. Please, 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 let somebody come and get me out of here. A prince, a princess, a knight in shining armor, a fairy godmother, a passing huntsman, big bad wolf, Mila Jovovich, Vin Diesel, Aziela Banks. Hell, I'll take anyone at this point. Visualizing, tapping into the power of my subconscious, materializing my dreams. Nope, doesn't work. Looks like you're eternally stuck being a nobody in the corner of a shitty restaurant. Sweet little Julia. Unlife's a bitch, and then you don't even die. I pretend to read a book about psychoanalysis I stole from Dakota for a while. Having found it too mentally taxing, I switched to pretending to read a Stephen King book. which I also stole from Dakota. After the terrifying realization that it was written in the last 15 years and therefore contains no amusing drugged out rants about troubled childhood in Maine, I switched back to looking at the entrance. That party must be so stuffy and trashy and boring. At this point, I'm no longer looking for salvation. I'm asking for amusement, but it doesn't come. All I get is boring bozos in normcore clothes. They walk in, take care of their business without doing anything to amuse me, and walk out. A few minutes after I lose all hope at all, elegant man it's not at all, it's a tall, elegant man marches in with a spring in his step. He looks around impatient, irritated. Then he notices the person he was looking for and reacts with visible relief. He gallantly approaches my table, looks at me and says, "There you are." This is the city's sheriff, Kadir. The internet's favorite character in both Coteries of New York and this game, and also mine, so. Now that's curious. He shouldn't be here. All of the options are horrible options, referring completely to what is in her brain, and nothing Kadir could even remotely refer to. Awesome. Kadir's obviously the big bad wolf, but I'm gonna go with Fairy Godmother. What's up? Are you here to be my fairy godmother? Will you give me a wonderful dress and drive me to the party? Oh, but it's past midnight already. My dumb attempt at self-amusement does not faze him at all. He doesn't even roll his eyes, just stares at me blankly. Grab your stuff and get in my car. Now. His tone leaves no room for doubt. Something bad has happened. I want to ask what, but whenever he is in his "I will simply ignore all the dumb shit you say" mode, I know better than to ask questions. Instead, I silently follow him to the exit. He guides me to his car. I just hope I haven't messed anything up. Again. I don't think I have, but have I? Yeah, the cop thing might be bad. Kadir's car. As usual, he gave me the backseat. He doesn't always... He's always uneasy when the passenger's seat is taken. Doesn't want anyone to limit his peripheral vision, he says. Normally I'd catch him observing me in the rearview mirror, but this time he's watching the streets. More tense than usual. Something must have caught him off guard. I've got my seatbelt on and my popcorn ready. What's up? The awkward silence feels like it will last forever. Eventually, he finds the right words and speaks up. 6 weeks ago, the prince told me to parley with the anarchs in the docks. Remember? Quick flash, Camarilla is the sect we are part of. They are the oldest tradition, the by the book guys who are all about the masquerade and giving all the power to the elders. Anarchs are supposed to be the opposite, in the sense that it power to the young ones and stop essentially power abuse that is so common among kindred. But they may have barons instead of princes, but they're kind of just as bad, almost. They're better, but not a lot. Yeah, and you made me tag along so that I could learn something about politics. As it turns out, politics meant something awfully similar to watching my drunken family shout at each other at a wedding party. There was this man who didn't need to shout to make my blood boil. The meanest one in the room, their leader. White hair, a monocle, musty clothes. Bus Callahan. With this fucking Polak cunt. Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, how could I forget? A lot of panache, old-timey bravado, and gendered insults flung my way. What was his name? Something British. Made me think of Hollywood. Callahan? Baron Callahan. Oh, sorry, that's Kadir. Baron Callahan. Douglas Boss Callahan. Right. It's 2020, but the man's opinions and ideas were stuck in 1920. Weren't the anarchs supposed to be the progressive option? I never understood why they put up with him. He has his ways of predicting which way the wind will blow. Anytime Camarilla or the SI hit the anarchs, it was the faction opposed to him that were hurt. The luckiest bastard in the world. SI refers to the Second Inquisition. Thought you didn't believe in luck. I don't. But it sure looks like his luck has finally run out tonight. Huh. Wait. Don't tell me. We're going to kill him. He's dead. The anarchs got rid of him. All of those could be options, really. I don't think Kadir would necessarily go to Julia for backup if he wanted to kill someone as potentially powerful as him, so it's not going to be this one. I'm going to go with the anarchs got rid of him. An evil grin. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know the specifics, but I do know he's gone. Wow. Gone. As in he's dead? Deader than dead? I'm 99% sure the bastard met his final death. How do you know? We've got pronunciation tonight is a thing. We got trustworthy sources in the Anarch inner circles. Looks like all hell's about to break loose. There's an emergency meeting at the art hall. Jesus! And you're bringing me with you? Why? Because you were on the way. Because I could. Because I should. You might not be important to the members of the court, but you're still an asset to the sect. Symbolically, at least. I can justify sneaking you into the party claiming it's for your own protection. My sweet fairy godmother in a luxury carriage. Tch. Wait a minute though. The party is still happening? I called the prince. Told her the best course of action is stopping it and started listing security protocols I have prepared for these sorts of situations. She interrupted me halfway through and told me we will discuss the subject face to face. Doesn't sound like she was interested. The party is that important, huh? Politics. Politics is that important. I don't know if he's trying to convince me or himself. And once again, politics sounds an awful lot like a bunch of party-loving assholes shouting at each other. Don't worry. This isn't the kind of, how should I call it, governing issue the likes of you and I tend to deal with. And how should you describe the governing issues we tend to deal with? Shoveling ourselves out of shit. As usual, he seems a little embarrassed for cussing, or for being too honest. Either way, it's cute. No argument here. And that's where the conversation ends. We stay silent as the car rides off towards the unknown. Boss Callahan. I'm not a New York City baron. The Baron of New York City, if you please. Once more, a memory of an old douchebag who thought he could rule the world crosses my mind. Well, it looks like the world has left him behind. Sayonara, asshole. And I'm here. And here I am, at the only place I didn't expect to visit tonight, the art hall. Guessing by the sounds, the insides seem lively. Even if they know it's an emergency, they simply don't care. What are you standing around for? You still need an invitation? No idea. Do I? I think a bouncer will let you in. There's a bouncer? Yes. And he's standing right in front of you. Just start walking, whelp. And here I am, among partying elites. It's as stuffy and boring as I expected, but hey, at least it's exclusive. The title Penhard came up with for these yearly gatherings is called Celebrations of Power. an invitation to re-examine the relationship between our undead bodies and the spaces they inhabit. The week-long event is packaged as some sort of performance art piece meant to make the kindred who are involved celebrate their potential instead of despairing at their monstrous nature. We need to counter-program the omnipresent images of tragic vampirism with images that remind us we have inherited the earth and are now free to remake it in our own image, is the way that our prince puts it. To this end, she organizes a series of exhibits, concerts, fireworks, parties, business meetings, etc., etc. Of course, the parties and business meetings are the most important. My prince. Kadir, finally. A saint with angelic wings, a holy patron of New York City. I take a good look around. Half of the figures here are dressed like they're attending a masked ball. The other half are religious figures, either demonic or saintly. I have to admit, I don't fully understand the theme here. I know Panhard based it on psychomagic, a sort of shamanic psychotherapy using the power of art. Simply put, it's a holy mass and unholy mass in equal measures, a set of rituals meant to make the participants wholeheartedly accept they're both the worst and the best this earth has to offer. Put on this mask at the very least, you're standing out. Yeah. I heard the aesthetic basis for these parties is the black mass in the film Eyes Wide Shut. Some think this decision means Panhard is tone deaf, but it's quite the contrary. She knows the anarchs are constantly looking for ways to undermine her through art and rhetoric that point out glaring contradictions in our theoretically benevolent rule. But instead of denying and suppressing aesthetics designed to criticize the elites, she embraces them. Instead of risking a Streisand effect, she effectively defangs the opposition. The resistance becomes a part of the system, and both the Camarilla and the anarchs get the same message. Don't think of it as a pathology. Think of it as the new normal. I'll collect the key advisors. They've already been told to come here. I don't think there's a need for us to hold a meeting in a particularly secluded place. We'll just do it over there. Are you certain? Absolutely. Wait. Is that Miss Sawinski I see behind you? I will absolutely just let Kadir talk. I nudge Kadir to take over. I collected her on my way here because of her role as a La Sombra representative. Just say political hostage. You people have made it perfectly clear what's going to happen with my parents back in Chicago if I go against you. I realized she might become a target and decided to hide her at the art hall. Putting all my eggs in one basket will make my job easier. I will look for a safe place for her to spend the night. Thomas Arturo. Let her stay with you for now, Alasmai. Time is of the essence. I didn't notice him sneak up on us. Nice getup. Are you absolutely sure? But of course, everything we say here is going to become an open secret in a matter of minutes. Prince Panhard has already come up with the appropriate messaging. Out of the corner of my eye, I spot an elderly vampire guiding a young, fashionably human girl toward the basement. Led like a lamb to the slaughter. Best not to think too deeply about what's going on underneath this place. Before everyone gets here, I'd like to secure the perimeter. Easy now, Alhazme. All of the appropriate security protocols for you are already active. Me and the prince have already pulled some strings as well. The situation is mostly under control. Mostly under control, never let anyone sleep any easier. Alhazme, I know that as the prince's sword, you're aching for blood. But you have to accept that, like most weapons known to men, you're most effective hidden in the sheath. Listen here now. Looks like a fascinating philosophical discussion in the making, but sadly, I'm forced to interrupt. Prince Panhard? All of a sudden, Shamira appears between the two men, her calm and collected voice completely changing the atmosphere, as expected, for a self-professed protector of the peace. Shamira, I hope you're enjoying yourself. To be quite honest, I feel out of place. She nods and smiles at me, probably to signal she takes solace in not being the only person in the room who feels like a fish out of water. Especially now, seeing as I heard this meeting is meant for those of greater stature than mine. Nonsense. We have a delicate matter to discuss, one that might require severe judgment down the road. I think you understand why I wished for a child of Akim to be involved. Right. For those who weren't there, Arturo, I believe, if memory serves, is the Ventru Primogen, and Shamira is the Banu Akim Primogen, which is the clan that used to be known as the Assamites. And they have actually joined, a faction of them has now joined the Camarilla. Of course. What is with that expression on your face, Gideon? He quickly collects himself. Look who's joining us. The High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs, Lady Eiling Sturbridge, walks up to our group in an outfit I would have never imagined her in, pretending everything is par for the course. Aisling Sturbridge, of course, is a Tremere, and she is the Primogen of the clan. Prince Panhard, the Sheriff, the Harpy, the Banu Akim Primogen. Are we still waiting for someone? He's almost here. Shining ever more brightly than usual, Aisling. Oh, wow, okay. For those who weren't there last time, there's a lot of bad blood between the Tremere and the Assamites. So, I think that's what they're underlining here. Very brilliantly so. I adore your outfit, Samira. Wish the prince allowed this same amount of effort for me. I, for one, am glad she didn't. I particularly love those horns. Thank you for reminding me. I put them on at the prince's behest, but I believe she'd had more than enough fun. No, not yet. Ah, well, this will do for now, but you're not off the hook yet. I paid a costly price to see you like this. Both Kadir's and the prince's voices are strained whenever they attempt humor. Their minds are obviously elsewhere, and it's not a happy place. Arturo, on the other hand, seems calm. We all celebrate our power in different ways, I suppose. Now what is this about? Just a moment. Over here, Addison. The Camarilla's infamous spokesman approaches, pushed towards us, in a wheelchair by his servant. Payne's servant. Helene, everyone. I suddenly hope this is something important. What a commending tone. Seeing as Payne can't communicate normally, his servant relays his words to us instead, and he's posh and snobby enough to make me believe I'm listening to his master's voice. Carter won't be joining us? He gave me fair warning he might not make it tonight. I've messaged him the details. I'll have to find time to meet him later then. Finding time, searching for lost time. I swear it's all I do nowadays. And there's never enough. I guess now you understand why I insisted that this event must last all week. So many esteemed guests, many of them from out of town, each deserving at least a few hours. The figure in the wheelchair waves his hand impatiently. Yes. Let's just cut to the chase now, shall we? That might be the wisest course of action. My prince. Arturo. My prince. Everyone, let me begin by stressing these important points. The situation is largely under control. The negotiations are underway, and the situation is more tense than dangerous. We are safe. Let me repeat. We are safe. And with that out of the way, here's the big news. Baron Callahan, the de facto leader of Anarchs in New York City, met his final death in his office tonight. How did you find out? We have a good friend near his office. Their intel is as accurate as it gets. We've also established a negotiation channel with the Anarchs. They gave us all the confirmation we needed. Simple as it may sound, I just want to bring attention to the art here. Just the fact that they could have easily just used the same not profile, but the same drawing. I'll use the term to represent the characters, but they've made subtle cues, subtle changes in their positions. Like Arturo used to have his mask on his face, and it could have stayed that for the whole conversation, but it feels more like he's talking to a crowd now that he's just like holding him with both hands like this. It feels like the position he would be in as he's talking now, instead of just using portrait. Instead of just using the same portrait is the word I was looking for all of his text. And they did the same thing with Sturbridge. It was not needed to have both a version of her with the horns and a version without, essentially. They switched as it made sense in the conversation, and that is very cool. Simple, but the devil is in the detail, essentially, and video games that get that tends to just strike so much better, in my opinion. Was our cult involved in this destruction? I look at her in disbelief. So does everyone else. Not that the same thought hasn't passed through my head, but to simply exclaim it like that. Oh, spare me the virtue signaling. I thought we were being transparent here. Oh, I don't give a damn if we took care of Callahan or not. I just want to have a clear idea of what I'm dealing with. Yes, a clear answer. I need that too. To my knowledge, none of us present here ordered his destruction, nor did we participate in it. Unless someone wants to confess, it's now or never. Of course, nobody speaks up. Arturo pretends to clear his throat. Yet, he was the most calm out of all of them. It's our official position as well. Camarilla's ruling body had nothing to do with it, and for all intents and purposes, all intents and purposes, Anarch contenders had more interest in removing him than we did. That interest is sure to manifest in one way now. His former enemies will prop him up as a martyr for the cause. Yes, which is why we sadly can't just leave the Anarchs to their own devices. As much as we'd like to avoid recognizing their sect in any way, we've offered to assist them in an official investigation. Oh, I see where this is going. Addison Payne's wrinkled face contorted slightly. Let me just ask you one question. You do realize those curs have no respect for our traditions, yes? We do, Edison. But as a veteran politician, you should be deeply familiar with the words controlled opposition. Yes, for now it's impossible to fully contain the Anarch threat in New York. For now, our only option is to prop up a candidate who will offer the least resistance to our future plans for the city. We extend our hands to the most promising contender, giving him a way to present himself as a diplomat, a man of reasonable compromise. The rabble falls in line, the purists grow angry and alienated. We've already contacted the best possible person in their sect. He will oversee the investigation, and it's in his best interest to show he's able to resolve the situation calmly. Is that good enough? Addison ponders the question for a while, then waves his hand again. It is. Proceed. Funny thing, nobody's paying any attention to me right now. Keep in mind, Mr. Payne, Oman's people will still barely tolerate us, and the situation is volatile. The other factions within that sorry excuse for a sect might still try to escalate the conflict. I will do my best to solve this situation as fast as possible. Also, Kadir is momentarily taken aback by Arturo's question. I volunteer to coordinate the case with the Anarchs, of course. I refuse! You have more important duties to focus on. Once more, Kadir is stunned. All due respect, Prince, but if you don't consider me capable of tackling this issue and attending to my usual duties at the same time, I think you gravely underestimate me. Your penchant for working yourself to the bone is well known and appreciated by everyone in this room, Sheriff, but so is your perfectionism. If we do grant your wish and let you investigate while still fulfilling your routine obligations, can you guarantee you're going to give both these tasks your best? I guarantee something very close to my best. Close to your best doesn't cut it, Al-Azmai. Not when the vultures are out in force. Callahan's destruction is sure to cause unrest among the Anarchs, and there's an obvious outlet for their pent-up rage. I want to make this perfectly clear. The celebrations will continue as planned, no matter what. This is why your presence here is absolutely necessary, Sheriff. We rely on your constant protection. I'm calling it now. They're going to nominate Julia, or more specifically, Kadir will. Of course, my prince. We must be on constant vigil for a few days. Al-Azmai's sword must be constantly pointed at the enemies surrounding us. The timing of the Baron's destruction is impeccable. The Anarch leaders are sure to point at us and claim we're shamelessly celebrating this end. Does anybody believe it's just a coincidence? Murders are messy, says the Asamite. Well, the Banu Hakim, sorry. Almost as messy as politics. It's impossible to reliably predict the outcome of any violent action. I think it'd be wise for us to brace for a lot of unfortunate coincidences, Aisling. In any case, the rabble can't get the impression that their power struggles are of great concern to us. They also can't think we have something to hide. Which brings me to my point. We do need a symbolic gesture, one displaying expertly measured intensity. My best bet is a humble diplomatic envoy, a low-level official acting as an investigator of sorts. I implore you, Prince. Kadir. He bites his tongue and struggles to collect himself. I rarely see him lose his temper, at least where the Camarilla is involved. What's going on? I wonder about your suggestion for this role. After all, it's not particularly prestigious. It carries a lot of responsibility. We're still talking about a Camarilla representative. Oh, I think there's a very obvious candidate. Both he and Kadir look at me simultaneously. Everyone else in the room does too. No, wait a second. You can't possibly mean Miss Julia. Once again, your full name eludes me at the moment. Am I allowed to speak? Or maybe I should wait for permission. Before I make up my mind, the sheriff sighs deeply and speaks up. Sowinski. Miss Julia Sowinski. Right. I understand you used to be an investigative journalist before your embrace. That's correct. Among others, the Banu Hakim Primogen insisted that you are worthy of greater privileges and should be given a chance to prove yourself. Shamira measures Arturo with suspicion. Yes. Do you still think she's capable? She looks me deep in the eye. I swear she's telepathically trying to tell me, please, please, please don't fuck this up, you dumbass little white girl. Of course. Good. And I'm sure that you, Al-Azmai, have no problem with your protege embarking on this mission, save for the pain a mother feels when watching their child leave the nest. Whether I do or don't is not particularly important right now, is it? It absolutely is. Panhard's backing of Arturo momentarily blindsides him. Prince Panhard. If Arturo's plan is reckless, I want you to tell me. I need a simple yes or no answer. Is the girl capable? Now he knows he's left with no choice. I wouldn't entrust her with all the responsibilities that I have if she wasn't. He exchanges glances with me, but his look is different than Shamira's. It's as if he's trying to apologize to me. Here we are then. A recommendation from the Banu Hakim Primogen and the sheriff. To tell you the truth, I was just throwing out ideas, but with this backing, I can't double the Night Clan's representative. I can't doubt the Night Clan's representative will get the job done. I'm certain each of us feels the same. Mr. O'Payne. The atmosphere in the room mostly suggests people are glad they don't have to discuss the topic further. A shrug here, an averted gaze there. It's as you say. I will watch the way she handles this situation with great interest. Well then, Miss Sawinski, looks like you've got your chance for a big break. Just tell me what to do. Nobody asks what I think or I have conditions. All of these choices are not the correct choices. Because in case you did not notice, Vampire is a highly political game where everything has double meanings. This entire conversation was from the start completely controlled by Arturo. He played everyone like a damn fiddle. From the chat, Nomad says, yep, it's advertised. I'm not sure when he typed that. Probably when I said that I called that Julia was going to be chosen for that. Yeah, absolutely. That was a huge, big neon sign. Absolutely. High have conditions will piss them all off. Nobody asks what I think, just seems like I'm whining, and just tell me what's to do at least shows a bit of cooperation. So I think that's the path. The path of least resistance essentially will probably... Okay. Here's the thing. I know there are two endings in the game. A good one and a bad one. And I think the way to get the good one is to be as a Sombra as I can be. So, with that in mind, and considering I'm actually playing a Sombra and might as well have fun with the fact that I am a Sombra, while I believe just tell me what to do would be the correct answer not to get killed and make too many enemies, I have conditions is the most La Sombra answer here. So I'm extremely tempted to take that one. What do you think, chat? Are we trying to survive, or are we being as La Sombra as we can be? What do you guys think? Just giving the chat a few minutes, that was a few seconds, sorry, to reply. So Stanil is voting for being La Sombra, all right. So far, that's one vote. I'm just gonna give a few more seconds to see if somebody else, just in case we have a tie or anything like that. Nomad says, survive, you will have time to be La Sombra later. Okay, we do have a tie. Damn. Okay, we have a tie. What are we going to do with that? Is there any a third vote? I see there's a couple of us on the chat. We're about 6 or 7 people in there. Does anybody else have a vote? If not, I will resolve that in a most gamer way, and I will roll it. All right, I'm rolling it. Give me a second. All right, so that's a 3, which means an odd number. So that would be the Be a La Sombra option. Sorry, I didn't mention what the options were before I rolled it. But essentially, I went with the first vote being what Stenel said. First vote would work for 1. So if 1 works, 1, 3, 5, and so on. And Nomad's Void would be 2, 4, 5, and so on. So we're going with I have conditions, and we will live with the consequences. Big break doesn't mean much by itself. All I see is a big responsibility being placed on my shoulders. What do I stand to gain here exactly? Even though I'd normally jump at the chance to be useful, I play it cool. All of the sudden, not only everyone acknowledges my existence, but believes I can handle solving a tense criminal case. If something seems to be too good to be true. Let's not be vulgar now. You stand to improve your standing at the court. While I'm not already dead, that's good. Yes. We can discuss the particulars based on your performance. Holy shit, they're taking me seriously. Holy shit, okay, Julia's a player now. She's definitely on the radar now. Awesome. Yeah, they don't plan on giving me shit. Figures. Yeah, of course they don't, but at least they're not, yelling or threatening my life. It's not like I can refuse, but this is something I need to take into account while taking care of this case. I need a bargaining position if I want to get anything out of this. Yeah, I'll do it. Just point me in the right direction and tell me what to do. Excellent. That leaves us with only one more matter, which I hope we can agree on. Prince Panhard signals someone with their hand. The figure emerges from behind a corner. Good evening. Right. I know her. If I recall correctly, she is the Elysium Keeper of this very Elysium we are in. Yet, apparently, she spends most of her time outside of the city. She's very mysterious, and I'm very curious about her. Catherine, what a pleasant surprise. Nobody informed us you were in town. Addison, looking healthier than ever. And what does Vice have to do with it? We need an impartial observer who everyone respects. And as it happens, Catherine always knew how to make friends on both sides without angering either. With the exception of Aisling, I don't remember the specifics, but I think that Aisling tried to call a blood hunt on Catherine. I beg to I'd be grateful if just for once you decided against throwing a tantrum about me, High Regent. A painful grimace crosses Heisling's face, but she is quick to interpret the taunt as an invitation to a game she can't possibly win. Yeah, Tremors tend to win whatever game they're playing, so Catherine is very confident. As long as she can prove herself useful to the proceedings in some way. If half of what I heard about her from Miss van der Weyden is true, she should be able to. And what did poor Cotter say about me this time? Nothing specific. One always has to read between the lines with him, but it was mostly envy. Miss Weiss gracefully agreed to mediate between the Anarch representative and the La Sombra representative, ensuring mutual cooperation and mitigating potential conflicts. That felt like a Freudian slip. La Sombra representative, not Camarilla representative, i.e., someone who can be catapulted from the sect without much damage to the Ivory Tower if they mess up. Is there a meeting set up? Arturo looks at the clock on the other side of the room. In less than an hour. You'd better hurry then. Proving that he already... Sorry, I keep looking at OBS. I should be looking at you, setmates. Sorry about that. Proving that Arturo knew exactly what was going to happen and had already set up the meeting because he absolutely knew that he would get the pawn he wanted and that Julia would be sent. What the hell? All of this is happening so fast. If the situation is indeed under control, I will drive her and oversee the situation. Out of the question. You've got your orders, Sheriff. Attend to those. You fool. The girl needs guidance, and we need yours. Nobody knows what might happen next. They are so throwing Julia to the wolves. Wow, okay. Well played, though, honestly. In Vampire the Masquerade games, whatever you're playing, whatever coteries you're playing as a tabletop game, usually the premise is the prince gives you a mission. That's the classic story. It's like in it's like the D&D equivalent of you walk into a bar and this mysterious cloaked man approaches you. In Vampire, it's like the prince called you for a meeting and he gives you this super important quest that there's no way in hell he or she would actually give to a neonate group like whatever you're playing. But we don't really question it because you need it for the plot to happen. These writers, though, in this game has managed to make me 100% believe that the character I'm playing, Julia, despite being only a year old, is the La Sombra representative, and she is being given this super important quest, mostly because just by giving the quest, they've already achieved whatever they needed to achieve, and whatever happens next, they can easily wash their hands of. It's perfect. It's so well thought out, and the whole conversation with the Ventru in the back, just making everybody think like this is going on as they're speaking, but actually revealing slowly, one card at a time, yep, I got you, I've got you, I've got you, and I've got you. Like, you all played in my hands, and you all did exactly what I wanted you to do. That is probably one of the best, if not the best, example of vampire politics right there. So back to the game. Kadir, but it's not as if the Anox have a lot of love for you, Al-Azmai. You're too efficient in your duties for them to tolerate you. Better spare Miss Sawinski having them see you two together. Do you think my guidance of Julia would be lacking, Kadir? I never said that. So, do you have any objections to putting her under my care? He lowers his gaze but seems reassured. None whatsoever. That's all I needed to hear. We'll be going then. Wasting no time as usual, I see. Have you at least tried the aperitifs? Waiting is an old person's game, Helene. I still feel young, and yet probably is not even a little bit young. Remember, if there's anything you need help with, probably not. But I appreciate the thought nevertheless. Have a great night, everyone. I'll catch up with you later, Addison. I certainly hope you do. And so we leave, in a rush. Funny considering what she told me about being in a hurry yesterday. Wow, that was such a great scene. Seriously. We're here. Let me just move the camera back a little. What I really loved in this scene is that everything was so advertised. I'll use Nomad's term because it's really a great term. I like it a lot. Everything was advertised 1 or 2 lines in advance. You could see the puzzle pieces being placed one after the other. You knew exactly what was going to happen the next line, and yet, despite knowing what was going to happen, none of these characters could stop it. Like, Arturo said something, you saw a reaction, and that reaction usually was, fuck, fine, I'll play in his cards. I have no other play here. That was great. We're here. She thanks the chauffeur and lets me out of the car into a quiet neighborhood, somewhere in Queens. Seemed like you were in a rush. I couldn't stand the crowd. She's honest. Probably performatively so, just to get into my good graces. Well, it's working. And why is that? In my experience, gatherings like those always enable a boring pack mentality. All the familiar lies we tell ourselves to justify lusting for more, repeated ad nauseum. What lies are you telling yourself? Yesterday you said, or I need guidance. I'm not going to say I need guidance. That would sound a bit too weak. I'm actually going to just play her game. And what lies are you telling yourself? Her aura immediately turns colder. You have bigger issues to worry about, sweetheart. Ah, well, at least I know how familiar I can get with her. That I do. Back at the art hall, you said something about guiding me, but I have zero idea what to do. None whatsoever. I had a few necessary arrangements to make over the phone before we got here to ensure your pretty little head stays attached to your neck. For now, anyway. I am grateful, but I still feel way out of my depth. I need to know what to do. You used to make a living as an investigative journalist, did you not? Investigate the murder. In TV shows where an investigative journalist gets too close to the heart of a politically incendiary case, it rarely goes well. A cat's head on a porch, a bullet to the head. So are you afraid you might be a pawn in a game you don't understand? That your elders consider you a disposable asset? That a single wrong move might cost you everything you hold dear? That sounds about right, yeah. Well, by the sound of it, you understand your situation perfectly. She literally just described the Camarilla. That's what it is to be a member of the Camarilla. Or vampires in general, but that's very well put. Don't belittle me. I need your advice. Be anything you want, but don't be boring, Julia. If I wanted to belittle you, I would have drowned you in platitudes long ago. Know thyself. Believe in your strength. Trust no one. Act confident. Turn the chessboard around and read your opponent's mind. Read Sun Tzu and quote him incessantly. Say, do you feel any better now? Can I ask you something? Seeing as Mia is still not here, of course. Do you know who killed Baron Callahan? That would have been one way to just go straight to the end. I haven't the slightest idea. Were you emotionally impacted by his death? Not at all. Did you know him? Only passingly, I'm afraid. I expected him to perish sooner than later, so I never bothered to improve our relationship. Why are you helping me? Am I? That remains to be seen. I really, really like that character. Still don't know who she is in terms of anything beyond her position in the city, I guess. What do you mean? You do not want a painfully honest answer. But I do. She stares me down. Her irreverent tones makes it impossible to guess what she's feeling. Even more so than the mask. When I look at you, I see someone pitiful. Someone whose hunger is purely biological. Just an animalistic rush. They made hunger a game term. I'm curious as to why. I'm not sure how the hunger as a need to feed. Exactly. Not sure how the hunger as a need to feed really applies in this situation, but still. Let's see. Just in case the game has a different definition than what I think. The vampire's urge to feed. It overpowers all other needs, and trying to ignore it is said to be the easiest way to prime the beast, the dark, always blood-hungry passenger that accompanies every vampire's on life for a hostile takeover. We'll keep reading. Maybe her meaning will make more sense in a minute. When I saw a burgeoning plan to put you in a situation that is way beyond your capabilities, I offered my help. I was curious to see your true colors reveal themselves firsthand. When everything is said and done, and Callahan's killer is pointed out, you will be a whimpering animal, or a victor. Sorry? Will you be a whimpering animal, or a victor taking the spoils? I cannot wait to find out. I don't know what to say. Is she provoking me, or Mia should be here any second? You have time for one more question. What makes you important? Who is Mia? Why do you hide your face? Oh. Really? That looks like an Eye of Ra. Could she be a Setite, or as they call him now, a member of the Ministry? Green eyes, mysterious as hell, about as charming as a toreador. Huh. A Ministry. Okay. Quick explanation. The clan that used to be known as the Setites, now known as the Ministry, is one of the most devious clan ever. They're not part of the Camarilla or any of the sects, actually. They are an independent clan. They do their own thing. So in theory, that gives them both an edge and, of course, a serious disadvantage. They don't have the numbers. They don't have the protection that other sects have by ganging together, but it also means they have no allegiance to anyone. So as we can see here, she can come into a Camarilla city, but she can also do the same in a Sabbat city, essentially. It's more of a case-by-case basis. Any number of city might kill her on sight or just be absolutely fine with her being there. So as long as she keeps good relations, she can build power bases and influence just about wherever she pleases. And that happens to be one of the great strengths of the Ministry. They are one of the best when it comes to, I'm going to say seduction, but not in the same sense as a toreador might. A Ministry will go beyond the physical, beyond the just being pretty. A Ministry will offer you everything you've ever wanted, no matter what it is. They're going to find out what makes you tick, and they're going to offer it to you. And the idea is that they're going to make you addicted to them, to what they can provide, to what they can give you. You're going to want more and more and more. And every time they're going to ask from you a little bit more and more and more. And that is how they build up empires of favors, essentially. They're very, very sneaky, and they were always very cool as a clan, but once again, a bit difficult to play in previous editions. And now, as the Ministry, what they did is that, as all the other clans are fond of saying it, they've rebranded as the Ministry because they had a terrible reputation before as the Setites. No one really trusted them. Their clan was obsessed with the god Seth, which to them was not an antediluvian. He was not a vampire. He was a god. They have a very different viewpoint of the universe. But the Ministry, since they rebranded, essentially, they're trying to be more helpful, I guess. Well, not helpful, but they're being a lot more careful with their reputation. They're working hard to score actual points and be more respected. So despite everyone knowing that there are still snakes, they have an easier time getting around, and that makes them a lot easier to integrate into any given city or any given game, essentially. So here we're getting back to our questions. What makes you important? Who is Mia? I mean, we're going to know who Mia is anyway, so I'm not going to ask this one. Why do you hide your face? Sounds like a very, very personal question and familiar question, and we've just established familiarity is not going to work. So I'm going to ask what makes you important, because I want to know who she is. I want to know if I'm correct and whether or not she is a member of the ministry. What do you do to hold so much sway over this city? I have the best occupation in the world, and I make sure nobody is better at it than I am. And that occupation is a socialite. And that was your last question. Direct the rest of them to her. A woman around my age emerges from around the corner of the street. Mia. I do not know Mia. I don't know who she is. Looks Bruja, or maybe Grand Girl. Probably Bruja. I'll explain those clans a bit more when we know for sure who she is. But I'm going to bet that Catherine is ministry for now anyway. It also, I believe, it explains why she's moving around quite a bit. She's not staying in the city. She is not Camarilla, essentially. She's welcome in the city, but not a member of the Camarilla itself. It's intriguing that she would actually be an Elysium Keeper, but I see it happening. I've never met her before, but if I had to describe her in 2 words by her aura alone, I guess those words would be permanently angry, even more so than your average anarch. Permanently angry tells me definitely Bruja. Wilson, you must be Catherine Weiss. And you must be Mia Morgan. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. The pleasure is mutual. This your girl? Julia Sawinski, the La Sombra Primogen. Okay, it's confirmed. She's not just representative, she's actually got the title of Primogen. Makes a lot more sense, but it also means that the fact that she's never invited anywhere is a much graver offense. The La Sombra representative. Oh. Okay, maybe not Primogen then. I correct her automatically. At this point, it's a habit. Good. If you were a Primogen, I might have tried to kill you here and now. Is Torque still on the site? Nah, I told him I'd take him from here. By the end of the night, he needs to look like a natural candidate for the leader of NYC Anarchs. It's going to take a lot of driving around and negotiations. How did he react to finding Callahan's remains? He hasn't exactly elaborated on his feelings, but I expect he reacted the same way every true believer in the cause did. It's this complicated mess of all the possible feelings under the moon. So he was the first one? Who to the murder site? I feel like there's a word missing there. Oh, so you're already calling it a murder site. Does the Ivory Tower know something we don't? It's not the official position, but I expect a lot of them think it's Torque who stood to benefit the most from the boss's death. And it sounds like he's quick to jump on a new opportunity. You don't know him. Yes, but I'd love to meet him and ask him some questions, especially if he was the one who found the body. Well, if you're meeting Torque at all, it won't be tonight. He's too busy. I was assigned to investigate. I won't be able to do it properly if I'm not able to question a key witness. I'll arrange for him to see you this week. This week? Aren't attentions a little too high for delaying an investigation like this? Well, Torque's work is our best shot at making sure they won't get hired. So boo fucking who? I'm his right-hand woman, though. You got any questions, direct them to me. Maybe the 2 of you should just head to Callahan's office. The discussion here does not seem to be going in the right direction, nor in a particularly interesting one. You're not coming? Torque and you are not the only ones who have their work cut out for them tonight. I trust you can take it from there. From here. And Mia, be easy on her. In slightly different circumstances, I expect the 2 of you would have ended up on the same side of the barricades. Uh-huh. Take care. She heads back to her vehicle. Well, follow me. I'll show you this place. It's a 19th... Whoa. Okay. It's a 19th century style office. Classical, wooden, smelly. Stuffy airs of books, old furniture, and dust covers much of the fragrance of decay, not all of it. Okay, so we have a body, we have a painting, we have a safe, looks like. Okay. This is the first time I've seen the remains of a vampire who has met final death. I heard stories of really old kindred crumbling to dust, but that's an exaggeration. At least, it didn't happen here. It's actually a thing. Unless it changed in V5, when you die, your final death, what happens essentially is that you regain all of your years. So if you were a vampire for 400 years, you gain 400 years right away. So for some people, you just automatically decompose into dust. It's a thing. I'm trying to get through this rather quickly because at least on my screen, it's glitching a bit when the game is trying to move about. When kindred die, time catches up with them. If you offed me right now, I'd probably turn into an ugly leaking corpse. But Callahan was well over a century old. It's like looking at a dapper mummy. A desiccated body in a heap of musty clothes. All that is left of the mighty boss Douglas Callahan, Anarch Baron of New York City, if that's really him. Needless to say, it might be a little hard to establish the time of death or the cause, especially if his garb doesn't have any obvious damage. What a great place to start. Have you already found anything suspicious? Nothing you don't see in front of you. Uh-huh. This door is the only point of entry to the room, right? Yes. Unless you count the windows, but nobody except for Callahan knew how to operate those, and they don't let air or light through. Metal blinders on the windows facing east, the only modern element of the room sticking out like a sore thumb. I just want to also mention one thing. The glitch in the movement here was probably not an intended part of the game. My setup is actually pretty old, and streaming is taxing it quite a bit. So that's probably why it was doing that. I'm pretty sure on a better system the game would run absolutely fine, so please don't judge the game based on my laptop's performances. Modern blinders on the windows facing east. Only modern element of the room sticking out with a sore thumb. I'm rereading it because now I'm supposed to be investigating this scene, so I want to make sure that I got everything. They look automated. Was the door open when Torque got here? Well, that's the one suspicious thing. It wasn't. It's as if Callahan locked himself in from the inside. A closed room murder, huh? There's some glass scattered on the floor. I point at it. Could that be from the window? I checked it from the outside. It's in perfect condition. So what's this glass? I have no idea. Why does it seem like she has her suspicions, but is remaining uncooperative just because, fuck off, Camarillas, come. I checked the next point of interest. A wall safe. Surprisingly large. I play with the lock a bit. What's the combination? It's Callahan's. What makes you think I know? At least I tried. A desk with nothing but an envelope on it. Nothing inside. I check all the drawers. Every single one has been thoroughly emptied. I don't know what I expected. Is this how the anarchs go around securing crime scenes? Were these emptied before Torque arrived? I don't know, but I wouldn't accuse him of tampering with evidence if I were you. Well, thank you. The decor of the room is pretty minimal, so there's not a lot of points of interest that could illuminate the case. I start getting nervous. I point at the painting on the wall. Of course, you have no idea who that is. Callahan's ancestor, I guess. I'm out of ideas. Everything I look at feels like another dead end. I'm frustrated. I feel as if I failed this investigation before it even started. There must be something more. I start walking around, trying to find a single clue. Mia just watches me indifferently. Give me anything. Anything, goddammit. Anything. Right, probably a ghost or something like that. La Sombras now can see ghosts. Because they have taken necromancy and obtemperation and made a single discipline out of it, which I believe is called Oblivion. A shadow blinks in and out of existence near Callahan's remains. I freeze in place. Once again, I'm given 3 choices that are not the ones I would have used. So either just don't say anything, tell it don't be afraid, or are you trying to help me? I would have enjoyed a description of the apparition, some kind of hint as to its demeanor before having to choose this. I'm gonna try with this, I guess, because that seems to be the one most likely to get some kind of answer. What are you mumbling about? In case you missed it, I'm not particularly fond of your case. Doesn't seem like Mia noticed it. Give me just a moment more. She groans under her nose and goes back to messaging someone on her phone. When she does, the shadow appears again. So those are long hair, which Callahan didn't have, and I'm not even sure if vampires leave ghosts. So it's probably not Callahan. Once again, blink in, blink out. Could something be there? I approach the clothes and start searching them for a clue. Maybe they missed something. Getting desperate, huh? Just being thorough. We've searched the bastard like 3 times. He had nothing of interest on him. How about this? A small card, barely noticeable, looking a bit like a shopping list, is shoved deep into an almost invisible hole in the fabric. I take it out and show it to Mia. Huh. You didn't plant that there, did you? No. Did you? Shove off. What's on it? It's a list of 4 names. D'Angelo, Hope, Agathon, Tamika. D'Angelo is a Nosferatu from the previous game. There were several, essentially, quest lines that you could follow in the original game, and D'Angelo's was a murder investigation as well, actually. Hope, if memory serves, is the Malkavian potential coterie mates from the previous game as well. Agathon, I don't remember, and Tamika either, but I'm assuming those are the 4 potential coterie mates from the previous game. Any idea what this is about? Beats me. She's lying, but I don't care. Tomorrow night I will meet up with Kadir and ask him for help. Ask him to help me figure it out. I think I'm done here. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Guess she sees me as nothing more but an enemy agent. When will I get to meet with Torque? If, and that's a big if, he will agree to meet you on a one-on-one basis, Catherine will let you know. Probably won't let a loyal Camarilla lapdog like you see him without her oversight anyway. A Camarilla lapdog, huh? Has she never heard of the Sombra? It's a risky play, of course, and might backfire, but maybe I'd benefit if I put my loyalty to the court into question. I'm definitely going to play that card. I mean, come on. A Sombra. A Camarilla lapdog, please. Well, aren't you? Trust me. I'm not the type who bites the hand that feeds her, but the court's favorite pastime is leaving me starved. Huh. So it's like that, huh? Yeah. Trait updated. Who am I? Okay, achievement unlocked is who am I really? And it says here, trait updated. I don't know what they're referring to. Do I have any traits anywhere? Unread, new, all. Nope, I don't see what that refers to. Let's see here in case there's a new menu under there. Okay, Julia's trait. Loyal only to myself. Okay. I'm not sure what those do. These are new. I don't think there was any of that in coteries. She studies me carefully. I will keep that in mind, depending on how the situation unfolds. Good. In the meantime, have a good night. You too. It's getting late, or early, depending on how you look at it. Once I leave Callahan's office, I head straight to Dakota's apartment. I try to sneak by to my bedroom, but she's up waiting for me. How was your night? Shit. Tomorrow. What happened? You look like something the cat dragged in. Tomorrow, I promise. But I'm worried. Don't be. Tomorrow. She gives me a concerned look, closes her eyes, slumps her shoulders, and frowns. All right. You're the best. I reach my pitch black room and throw myself on the bed. The responsibilities, the stakes, the way I always feel too slow to react properly in these situations. I don't want to think. I want to turn off my brain. I want to drift into the void. Into the void. Another achievement popped up, says accidental PI. I read them as soon as they come up because they're actually popping up behind my face here, so you can't see them. Into the void, into the void, into the void. Rest. Oh, interesting. They're gonna explain it. You have received your first trait. Some choices in the game will push Julia towards different ways of thinking, which will have a lasting effect on her throughout the story. You will see a brief pop-up on the top of the screen anytime that you receive a new trait. You can always view any unlocked trait in the log screen accessed through the top left icon. Remember that ruthlessness is the mark of a true Lasombra, but you might walk another path before reaching that destination. Okay, sorry, I was analyzing. My issue here is small, but it's still an issue. Like, literally, the setup here is that I'm playing Mia, kind of, letting her believe I'm not very loyal, just so that she opens up. Not that it's false per se, because I really don't get the impression that Julia is particularly pro Camarilla, but again, the Camarilla may declare what would happen to her family, so she's playing the party line. So what I'm trying to say is I'm not sure the conclusion here is that Julia is loyal only to herself. That seems like a bit of a step from from how it was presented, essentially. But it's probably accurate, so I guess I'm fine with it, to a certain extent. Always told you you'd make it big. Get real. These assholes are just using me as a pawn in some stupid fourth-dimensional chess game, as opposed to just keeping you off the chessboard. Don't be a glass-half-empty buzzkill. Watch them make me scapegoat or something. That would be exciting. I could write a book about living in a 21st century Lee Harvey Oswald. Come on, don't even joke like that. I haven't killed anyone. Julia, honey, neither did Oswald. Yeah, right. I keep forgetting. Stop wriggling or I'll mess up your face. Oh, that's what's happening. Okay, I thought she was kind of painting or something, and the setup was kind of odd, but right. Julia being a Lasombra, she can't see herself in a mirror at all, so they've previously established that Dakota is the one that actually does all of her makeup. Sorry. I'm always obedient when she's busy working on my makeup. It's hard to take care of your appearance, especially your face, when you can't even see yourself in the mirror. Not that I've ever been particularly good at it, but Dakota doesn't seem to mind. I'm her goth dress-up doll. Her presence in my own life is one of the few good things that my sire provided for me before fucking off to Chicago. Normally, I'd be told to find myself a ghoul, but many of our clan, myself included, finds the idea of ghouls distasteful. Quick reminder, a ghoul is a human to whom a vampire feeds their blood. That makes them a bit superhuman, but not necessarily as powerful as a vampire might be. but they're still perfectly mortal. They're still human. They just have a few more extra features, essentially. We're cat people, not dog people. We don't want mindlessly faithful servants. We want companions who rely on us, despite having, in theory anyway, the free will not to. The kind of relationship I have with Dakota would normally be a breach of the Masquerade's rule, but the rules are different for kindred who are Camarilla adjacent, even losers like me. Simplifying here, but my sire made it clear that her child would not own slaves, and that was the end of the discussion. To be honest, I think the court mostly agreed to that request because they wanted one more thing to blackmail me with, just in case. That explains so much. So the Camarilla knows about Dakota. She's not hidden, like I assumed originally. Yeah, she's gonna die before the end of this game. What would you do in my place? If I had to investigate your elite's wrongdoings? Yeah, I'd probably look for those rich fucks' pedophile rings. Look for the hassles who mention pizza suspiciously often. See who has powerful friends in Manhattan jails. Stuff like that. Ah, come on. Nah, I'm serious. Search for the deep rot, and a lot of smaller crimes will get solved in the process. What is it with you and conspiracy theories? What do you mean? You just told me your bosses are having eyes wide shut parties, and suddenly you don't believe in rich people's pedophile rings? I don't know. I don't know if I want to know. My point is, you act as if all the conspiracy theories are real. Like, you can't possibly believe all that shit. Half of it doesn't even make sense. Well, you want an interesting answer or a real answer? The real answer should... The real answer should be the more interesting one. She removes her brush from my face to gather her thoughts. Everyone's lost nowadays. Just look at the world. It's drowning in facts that fail to cohere into a single convincing narrative, or a story that resonates. Corporate media want you to believe in empirical thinking, but it always fails to deliver moral or metaphysical truths, and the people desperately lack those. So what do? They turn to conspiracists, and suddenly they're able to navigate the world. And why is that? Because conspiracy theories give them emotional truths that serve as a compass. Is Bill Gates trying to insert satanic microchips into my body? Probably not. I hope not. Now, is he a terrible person? No idea, but there's ample evidence that might be the case. It's in his ruthless business strategies, the company he used to keep, the philosophies he follows. People look at him and they feel he's fishy. So when the media present him as a genius or saver, and I post that he wants to put on the mask of the beast in my body... And I post that he wants to put on the mark of the beast in my body, they choose to believe me. Because it makes moral, emotional, and metaphysical sense to them. And ultimately, that's what matters most. The end. Okay, I think I get it. Nah, I don't buy it. Huh. Gonna go... Those are interesting choices. I mean, what she said makes sense, but I don't think it explains her sense very well. But still, let's go with it. Wow. I'm 99% sure this is complete bullshit, but I'm buying it. I mean, it totally misrepresents my conspiracy nut jobs I knew. Starting over. It totally misrepresents most conspiracy nut jobs I knew, but it's interesting and fun to think about, so I don't really give a damn if it's the truth. See? That's the idea. You get it. You came up with this monologue yourself? Oh no, I read it on Facebook. Figures. But just to make sure, vaccines are okay? Well, as far as I know, they don't cause autism. Good to hear. Anywho, I'm done. You're the best. Yeah, considering how many times I've done makeup on a dead body, I probably have enough job experience to be a mortician by now. That sounds like an exciting career, but in reality it is probably the most boring thing under the sun. Yeah, I like my corpses talkative, pouty, and self-loathing. Shut up. His carcass will be leaving now. It's got a job to do. Go get him, Tiger. First thing I need to do, meet up with Kadir tonight and report to him. I hope he knows how to guide me out of this mess. He should have time for me in an hour or two. In the meantime, I suppose it's time to find some... What's the most dehumanizing word I could use here? Nourishment? Kadir told me I'd need to quench my hunger less often if I didn't smoke. It kills you, he said. But to start killing itself, your organism must pretend it's alive. And that uses up precious vitae. Vitae is a word for vampiric blood. There's a distinction between human blood and vampiric blood. Essentially, once the blood you drink has been processed through your vampiric system, it becomes vitae. And it is vitae that can fuel your vampiric power. That's why if you're drinking some vampire's blood, it's not the same as drinking a human's blood. There's effects, supernatural effects to doing that. But I love cigarettes. The way they smell, the way they burn, the hot ash falling from the top, the sound of the lighter, the way they kill you, of course. And I guess I need some tactile connection to who I was back when I was alive. Okay, New York City, guide my steps. Show me which one of your children I should drink up tonight. Okay. So let's choose our victims. That's going to be our last trip for tonight. We have Diva's Delight, a fitting name for a kiss addict audacious enough to openly pitch her unique taste to those in the know. I'm not in a clubbing mood, but since I need to feed, might as well give that rumor a shot. Here, kiss is written with a capital K. It's literally referring to the act of drinking someone, or being drunk, I should say, which is extremely pleasurable. So that's essentially a blood doll. It's a human that knows vampires are a thing and willingly offers themselves up. A slap on the wrist. Samira is asking me to meet her. If not for the ongoing celebrations, the patrician would prove an odd choice for a secret rendezvous. Here's hoping she can provide some useful insight into the case. Bunny is reporter. The note left at my old dead drop point reads, Bunny as a reporter. Shit. Could it be Woods? Long time no see. What does one do when the ghost of Christmas past knocks on her door? Okay, I have to choose here. One of them is about getting fed. All of the other ones looks like they're important story beats. Samira is interesting to me, so I'd be interested in going there, and she's also sounds like an option that would be relevant to the plot. Then again, here the game telegraphed quite a bit that we should go and have a drink. That seems to be the getting a drink option. Here we have a potential venue into Julia's backstory. So all three of those options are pretty strong, I have to say. What does the chat think? Which of these three options do you feel is most interesting or would be the best choice to do in this circumstances? Just gonna give the chat a couple of minutes to think it up and type it up. Once again, I really like how they're doing here the effect of the blood. Streets are the blood. Stanel says drink. Okay. That's one vote for Miss Diva's Delight. Nomad also goes for having a drink. Alrighty then. I doubt we'll have more votes, so that's going to be what we're going to do. Let's see where that takes us. No blood, no matter how exquisite, is worth suffering through this noise. It looks like the same club where the Bruja character hangs in the original game. Something terrible must have happened to the previous DJ. It had to be sudden and unexpected for them to hire this amateur under the wire. Zero ability to read the crowd, no sense of flow, as if that constant flashing wasn't migraine-inducing enough by itself. Not that I remember how an ordinary headache feels. I know the hunger, though, which is why I'm here tonight. A purple-haired girl bumps into me. Head down, tears flowing down her cheeks, hands trembling. As much as I'd understand it, I don't think it's the guy at the turntables that made her like this. I'm sorry, I think I misread. Oh, okay, she means she'd understand if the music was what made her cry. Okay. Oof. Oh, I'm so sorry. She bolts before I can say a single word. Well, who am I to blame her? A tactical retreat probably felt like a good idea. A trace of cheap booze in every potential vessel is faint, but ever present. At this point, the smell is all I'm getting. To think of it, I can barely remember how alcohol tastes. Maybe I should remind myself. Nah, that's dumb. But the bar's pretty much free of people at the moment. I get closer and take a peek at the drinks menu. These are some goofy fucking names, especially from a kindred's perspective. Order the Bloody Margaret, order the Vampiro, or put the menu back. Let's go with the Bloody Margaret. The bartender brings me a large glass garnished with a celery stick and filled with something that looks more like a veggie shot than a gin-based cocktail. I'm far from thrilled. Fuck it, here goes. I chuck it down in one go. It tastes like canned tomatoes, someone opened and left rotten for a decade. Something tells me I'm gonna regret it soon. The music abruptly stops just as I step away from the bar. So, Stenil says, Shamira seems interesting, though. Yes, I agree. Too late now, but yes, I agree on the principle of it. Shamira does absolutely seem interesting. I'm very much intrigued by how they're playing the Banu Hakim in V5. It was always one of my favorite clans, the Assamites, at least in theory. I thought they were pretty cool. They had a lot of potential to be interesting, but they were hard to bring into play. So now that they are much more included, I'm very intrigued by what they're doing with them, essentially. But here we can see that Julia seems able to eat, or at least drink. That's weird. Might be new from V5. It used to be that anything they ate turned to ash in their mouth, essentially. Now they seem to be going with, it just tastes horrible. But they can still go ahead and eat it, and it goes into their stomach. There used to be an ability that some vampires could get, which literally was called eat food, which allowed them to normally be able to ingest food, and it was fine. They wouldn't be able to digest it. They would have to puke it out later, but they could at least look normal, look human. They could drink, they could eat normally. That was a unique ability that was not very widespread. Unless Julia has that ability, it looks like in V5 most vampires can eat. It just tastes terrible. I assume she'll have to puke it out later as well, but we'll figure it out, I guess. The music abruptly stops just as I step away from the bar. I can't see the booth, but the crowd's reaction tells me all I need to know. Looks like we have a new DJ. The vibe immediately improves. Hallelujah. But pleasant moments never last. Some well-worn dude on the other side of the 40, on the wrong side of 40, okay, so meaning is getting towards 50, decides to hit me up. Our eyes meet for a brief moment, slightly too late for me to outmaneuver him. Strangely, there's no lust in his gaze, and yet he seems like a predator, closing in on his prey. Shit. Could he be the rumored Tiva's delight? A kiss addict clocking me as a bloodsucker? How come you're here all alone, sweetheart? I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but there's something irksome in the way he carries himself. As he approaches me, I begin to feel fatigued. Like there was a sudden drop in atmospheric pressure. Just ignore him, tell him to piss off, glare until he goes away. to be... I'm trying to be ruthless, because I think the game earlier hinted that being ruthless is the way to be Sombra and maybe get a good ending, so I'm going to tell him to piss off. My unsure voice thwarts any attempt at sounding imposing. Can you bother someone else? I'm not in a fucking mood. He seems unfazed by my words, just tilts his head a little, like a hound dog catching his scent. I feel spiders crawling up my spine. Is there something wrong? Here, let me... Hands off, asshole! Potence twist his wrist or dominate, making go away. I'm gonna go with dominate. That seems a bit more masquerade friendly. I can barely focus on his eyes, but he freezes in place for a moment. Hey, stallion, how about you go bother that guy? He struggles with my chaotic command and gives me an unsettling look, but in the end he seems to do what I wanted him to do. He approaches some meathead who immediately turns hostile. The meathead's first punch breaks the guy's nose. I don't wait to see the second one. As if meeting that hassle didn't strain me enough, an acrid feeling arises in my gut, instantly making me nauseous. I barely make it to the nearest empty lounge before I begin violently throwing up. For a minute straight, I spray the couch with the remains of that wretched cocktail. It's not a pleasant sight. Alright, so it seems like now it just makes them throw up, which, to be fair, I think it used to do as well. Even when it tasted like ash or just turned into ash, they couldn't keep it in, so it's pretty similar when I think about it. Just, I guess maybe the presentation made me feel different. I get a hold of myself as soon as my stomach empties. And by the way, to be fair, I only ordered that drink for the same reason I ordered the coffee. I didn't expect Julia to actually drink it. I get a hold of myself as soon as my stomach empties. Shit, Julia. Well, your life has had more than its fair share of avoidable embarrassment. Is it necessary for your unlife to follow suit? Time to bail and not look back. Right before I reach the exit, the purple-haired girl from earlier bumps into me once again. This time I know it's not coincidental. Wait. Please? She seems startled, but gives me a pleading look. I saw what you did to that man. Are you one of them? What are you talking about? Who's them? She bares her teeth and taps the side of her neck. Oh, I get it. So you're the diva's delight. She blushes innocently, like I just caught her stealing cookies. Yes, it sounds silly, I know, but I thought it would attract some of, some of your kind. I've always been told I taste good. Sorry, I thought it was narration. I've always been told I taste good. Would you like to try? She looks at me the same way a junkie who hasn't had his hit for a while looks at a syringe. You know too much. There's no way you don't have a patron of some sort. Her eyes tear up again. I do, but maybe I don't. I don't know anymore. He shows up whenever he wants, then disappears for weeks. I don't even know his name. We were supposed to meet here tonight, but I guess he didn't show up. The girl keeps talking. Now that she has found somebody new to open up to, any instinct she might have had to remain secretive is gone. Makes you wonder who thought it was a good idea to breach a masquerade for her. Before him, I used to have a caregiver. She was one of the divas too, but she was exceptional. Noble. I think she cared about me in a way. She always complimented the way I taste. Nomad says, blood doll. Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to try? She clings to my arm like I'm Jesus Christ and Kurt Cobain at the same time. Descended from heaven exclusively to turn her misery to bliss. I can't help but feel some disdain. Please, I promise you won't be disappointed. I know I won't be. I'm too hungry for that. But I also like to pretend I'm something better than hungry from time to time. I can refuse or go for it. I mean, why refuse? We literally came for that, so... The hunger gets the better of me, but somehow I don't mind. This is what she wants, isn't it? A quick look around. Nobody's paying attention. Why would they? We're just two random girls who seem to be into each other. Then again, this also could be a second Inquisition trap. I gently grabbed the back of her head and put my lips closer to her neck. She visibly trembles with excitement. As I bite down, her body softens. Then I drink, savoring each sip. She really tastes incredible, like an unfulfilled promise. Sweet, sweet innocence. As soon as I'm done, she loses her footing, weakened, but undoubtedly relieved. I help her sit down on the floor. She smiles at me, joy glinting in her eyes. That's the thing. That's a really cool thing, by the way, with a V5 that I don't think I've seen in any previous edition. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they've made the act of feeding a whole new thing. There is, I forget the clinical, what am I saying? The mechanical term of it, but essentially everyone you feed has some kind of a resonance, essentially, which helps the storyteller give different descriptions each time you feel, but also have a mechanical effect. Some person who are particularly in tune to a particular type of emotion, for example, can have benefits. For example, if you're drinking, I don't know, some big shot CEO who's very controlling, you might actually have bonuses when you're trying to use dominate, for example. So that makes the act of feeding a little bit more than just saying you feed, essentially, because in the past feeding would quickly grow tiresome. I mean, obviously you want it to be important, you don't want to just be dismissed, but there's only so many times you can make feeding sound important until it just becomes kind of boring to roleplay. But with this system, at the very least, you have to hunt. You might not spend too much time describing the event if it's the 1000th time your players are feeding, but you still need to hunt, because the way you hunt, or at least the targets you're going for, has an impact. If you're trying to be covert, if you're trying to be physical, if you're trying to be social, or whatever you're trying to achieve, there is probably a victim somewhere that can help you achieve that. So it's worthwhile to strategically plan who you're gonna feed on before embarking on a mission or a story of some sort, depending on what you're expecting. So at the very least, they're making sure that feeding is relevant in that way, instead of being a formality, essentially. Thank you. That was... I really needed that. Before she proceeds, I'm going to continue actually on the feeding thing. With the storyteller screen, there is a booklet that comes with 100 different potential victims in it. That's what the whole book is. It's 100 different person you can drink on. So if you're a storyteller and you have no idea, like your player just right there and say, okay, I'm going to look for someone of that type, or even I'm going to take the first person on this side of the street, and you have no idea, you're not inspired at the moment, you can just flip that open and just pick one. Okay, this is a person who does that in their life, they have these characteristics, and they can be found in this location. So it's also a way to get quick ideas for locations themselves. It's not just person, but also essentially, in a few words, an entire scene. So you can quickly get inspiration without getting drowned in details. That is an amazing idea, a great concept that I really hope more games will, well, for lack of a better word, steal. because these quick 100 tables of something you're gonna need is really cool. You just pick the one you need, you get an idea, and you're good to go. It's a really good idea that I hope spreads. Thank you. That was... I really needed that. My name's... Don't talk. Just rest for a while. I leave her alone in this state of bliss. She doesn't seem to mind. It looks like I did the right thing, right? I leave the booming sounds of the club behind me and get on with my night. Oh. I can pick another one before I go and see... Huh, Kadir. Okay. Well, it is 9 p.m., so that is the time where I usually stop. So I had one kind of vote earlier for Shemira, and looking at the chat, Staniel still votes for Shemira. I suppose I could do Samira and then call it a night. What do you think, chat? Do we push it a little bit, do Samira right now, or do we wait for next week for that? Because out of the two, my personal vote is for Samira, and Staniel also goes for Samira, so I'm not going to put it to a vote. I'm actually going to... That's the option I'm going for. So the question is just, are we doing it now, or are we doing it next week? Nomad seems to agree with Samira as well, so perfect. That definitely seals it. That's what we're doing. But are we willing to go maybe another half hour, or wait? Samuel just repeats, Shemira! So I'm going to take that for a vote of doing it now. You know what? I'm up for it. I'm a bit tired, but I'm up for it. I really like this game, and I want more of it. So let us be unreasonable and start this. A clean-cut staff member dressed in an impeccably company uniform. Rewind. Dressed in an impeccable company uniform smiles at me as the elevator door opens. Good evening, Mom. Meeting someone. I dismiss his question with an apathetic shrug. He sizes me up for a brief moment, visibly questioning my fashion sense. However, his professional acumen quickly trumps his discontent. Very well. This way, please. NYC's nouveau riche seems awfully starving for a gourmet soup this late at night. The patrician is packed almost to the brim. The concierge points me over to the last vacant table, conveniently situated in a far corner of the main hall. I nestle in a chair, letting my elbows rest on the ornate tablecloth. Watch out. Oblivious white collars. Oh, okay. There's a black widow in your midst. She's referring to the other patrons. And of course, she's the black widow here. Okay. Well, I'm here. Might as well just kick back and dive boredom. Yeah. I really need something to occupy my mind. So, call the concierge, figure out where Samira asked you to come, or have a smoke and examine the place. We're interested in Samira here, so I'm gonna choose this one. As I'm waiting, I racked my brain for any idea why the Banu Hakim Primogen wanted me here tonight, instead of out there working my case. The obvious possibility, and the one I'm counting on, is that she has some sort of lead she wasn't comfortable sharing at the Elysium. She got seriously played by Arturo, so it's likely. I'm almost certain that's a false hope, though. This whole investigation still feels like a joke being told at my expense. While I'm trying to figure out how I feel about this, somebody finally takes notice of me. The concierge quickly closes in on me, dancing habitually between the tables, and addresses me before I can even utter a single word. Excuse me, ma'am. Are you Miss Sawinski by chance? As soon as I nod, he hands me a carefully folded memo and leaves. The note reads, "The manager of this establishment insulted the Camarillus authority with his negligence. Even though it's minor, his transgression must be penalized. I would like you to assist me in this matter." Such a display of goodwill on your part would surely improve your standing with the higher ups. Choose an appropriate, non-lethal punishment. S. Holy fuck. Okay. Well, she did say non-lethal. Oh, this could be so much a trap. Well, this is disappointing. It was a high order to expect any help with the investigation, I guess. Instead, just another chore. The best I can hope for is that this really is just a friendly request and not a deliberate attempt to derail my work this early in the game. Ugh, damn it. Might as well get it done since I'm already here, so I can move on with more pressing stuff. I swiftly approach the manager and tap him on the shoulder. He furrows his brow as soon as he notices me. I'm afraid I'm busy. One of the waiting staff should be able to... We have something to discuss. The VIP lounge. Now, if you please. His face loses color. Maybe it has dawned on him that I'm even paler than the other, more blue-blooded guests. He immediately becomes compliant as I escort him through a side door. The room isn't empty, but its guests are just leaving. Nobody pays me any attention. The manager is as polite as he can be as he sees the patrons out, but I can see he is clearly losing his shit. He quietly asks one of his staff to give him 5 minutes in the lounge and gingerly closes the door behind him. Then the pleading starts. Listen. I know I screwed up. I shouldn't have let him in. How could I have known he's not one of the proper clients? I don't get... Listen, hey! I would never. I implore you. I have children. For Christ's sake, there must be something. An arrangement. A way to... He just goes on as if I'm not even here. With each subsequent whimper, he becomes more and more irritating. Explain or lash out. Not sure what the implication of lashing out. So I'm trying to be ruthless, but the nuances here are difficult to determine, I guess. What does the chat think? Are we going to be nice and explain, or are we going to brutally lash out? Because essentially, I'd like to have a plan of what the punishment would be, and I don't feel like lashing out is going to get us there. So maybe if I start by explaining, I'll get options down the line, whereas I feel like I'm burning out my option if I'm lashing out. Any thoughts in the chat? I'm gonna go with explain unless someone has... Okay, Nomad says lash. Stanil says try explaining first. Okay, so we're tied up again. This time Nomad had the first vote in, so I'll go with 1s, 3s, and so on for the lashing out. It's a 4, so Stanil wins again. We are explaining. Just shut up for a goddamn second. My outburst finally makes him hold his tongue. I light up the last cig in a package and take a slow puff, trying to compose myself. I have no use for your explanations and justifications. I don't know what sort of transgression you've committed. I should never have let this Sansarik guy in. And truth be told, I don't give a shit. It will never happen again. I swear, on my mother's grave. I'm not that good a judge of character, but him pleading with his arms out really makes him look like the biblical wayward son swearing to change his ways. Brand him or let him off with a warning. That is definitely not ruthless or gonna be useful at all, so I'm definitely going with brand him. I grab his hand in a tight grip. palm up, and take a puff to rekindle the burning tip of my cigarette. He does not find back. You and I both know they will want proof that I gave you a lesson you won't forget. So I hope you realize that this is mercy. I put my smoke out on the palm of his hand to the accompaniment of his muffled screams. His eyes become watery, but other than that, he takes it like a champ. If I have to come back to this shithole, the next one will go right here. I look him in the eye and crassly flick his eyelid before taking off. I didn't know I was capable of this sort of cruelty, but here we are. Karen warned me that our something in bloodline. I'm thinking there's a missing word here, but still, I'll read it as is. Karen warned me that our something in bloodline finds sniveling weaklings detestable. Is that what triggered me? But that's a conundrum for another occasion. I did what was asked, and I've sure as hell wasted enough time here. I should move on. Alright, it's about time I head to see Kadir. Mighty kind of him to arrange a meeting in a place that's most convenient for me. D'Angelo, Hope, Tamika, Agathon. I suppose that's better than nothing, but no evidence? Really? Honestly, it felt as if someone had already cleaned up the most egregious stuff before I arrived. Sounds like the Anarchs. I'll definitely try and check that place again, but I feel I'd need some sort of expert to accompany me. An advanced investigator who would show me the ropes? Someone tall and handsome, maybe? Yeah. If you don't mind a diplomatic incident, I'll go with you. Any better ideas? Actually, this very note gave me one, but I will need to set it up first. I'll get back to you about that. You know these people? I've had a passing contact with each of them. Part and parcel of the job, you know? I suppose. Can you help me out with this? The way I'd tackle it would be, look at one person on the list every night, ask around about them, and see what they know if you do manage to meet them. If I manage to meet them, they're not particularly easy to get hold of. Always preferred to be a little off the grid. Nowadays, they're all practically hiding, if not MIA or dead. Funny coincidence. It is not my job to speculate. In other words, he knows something, but is not at liberty to say. Guess I'll find out anyway, if I do meet them. And why one night each? Shouldn't I investigate every loose threads until we're satisfied? In a perfect world, you'd have all the time you needed. But this is not a perfect world. They'll try to brute force a solution to the case as soon as possible. I suspect that 4 nights from now, once the celebrations of power are over, they'll ask you for your findings, and that will be all. Fucked up. To be brutally honest, my focus wouldn't be on solving the murder. Instead, I'd focus on not embarrassing yourself. Fucked up. This is part of why I didn't want you to get involved. You couldn't possibly think Arturo had you involved out of the goodness of his heart. The entirety of your investigation is just for show. You were meant to be an unwitting actor. Maybe I really should just call Mia and be like, you know what? Fuck these condescending ivory tower clowns. I want to work with you. But then again, if I was with the Anarchs, they'd probably delegate even shittier tasks to me. If, and that's a really big if, they didn't think I was some kind of inside agent in the first place. Better stick to Camarilla. But if they're hell-bent on stabbing me in the back at every opportunity, maybe it's time to think about how I can repay the favor. Play dirty, no matter what Kadir thinks of it. After all, from where I'm standing now, there's no other way but up. A penny for your thoughts. I take a drag from my cigarette. I'm pissed off. That's just a Camarilla, no? Whatever. Gonna go with that. After the last few months of hazing, I didn't expect a random act of kindness. This kind of bullshit is, well, Just how the Camarilla works, isn't it? More often than necessary, I'd say, but this time it's a risky play. In my experience, if one simply displays some cunning, they can unexpectedly turn a situation like this to their advantage. The court, part of the court, assumes that you're unable to surprise them in this regard, but if you do, by the end of this investigation, you might as well pull yourself out of the ditch. That would be a night to remember. So, where should I go first? You should go with me. As it happens, I'm only out here because I was ordered to drive Aisling to the art hall. And guess the name of her protege. Oh, so that's who Agathon is. Or was. Nobody knows. It's a complicated thing, you'll see. I'm on the clock, so let's get a move on. Work your magic. Excellent. Work your magic, fairy godmother. They kept the reference of what I called him before. Still not done with this bit? Not while it's still bothering you. I'm leaving you behind if you don't keep up. Okay, that was a transition. That was quick. As I already told Kadir, and numerous times at that, I have no idea what happened with Agathon. Really just switch all the way to that? Did I accidentally miss something? Alright. Broadway Chantry, part of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs, is Aisling's usual hangout place these past few nights. She's in a hurry and not willing to talk. Do you have any idea about his connection to kindred going by the name of Tamika, D'Angelo, and Hope? I don't. I made it a point to keep our relationship strictly professional. Our relationship a strictly professional one, and never meddled in his personal affairs, unless they influenced our work, that is. But it only happened one time. Ah, yes. The infamous Juno case. About that Juno, were there any signs he's leaving? Was there any conflict between you two? Were there any signs he's leaving? Or anything that makes his disappearance suspicious? No, nothing. It was quite rude of him not to give me a proper warning before he departed. Still, this line of work is not particularly favored by folks with a perfect grasp of savoir-vivre. I do hope his search will bring him back where he started, begging me to take him back in. The boy is talented, and I did put a lot of time into mentoring him. If he doesn't, well, que sera sera. No skin off my back. So you won't even entertain the possibility that he found himself in harm's way. I know an answer to that one. A researcher's mindset. She doesn't think it's worth considering the worst case scenario seriously and just takes things as they come. Precisely. If, for example, climate change scientists didn't operate this way, most would have put a bullet in their own head long ago. That's a cheery thought. I'd like to search the Chantry for Agathon's whereabouts. Our good sheriff already did that long ago. You'd just be wasting your time, and ours, for that matter. Didn't you say Helene was waiting for us, Kadir? Give the girl 15 minutes, Aisling. A minimal support for an ongoing investigation. And besides, she has a proclivity for finding things everyone else has overlooked. 10 minutes, and if you attempt to pass this door, or that one up there, I can't guarantee you'll walk out of here alive. Thank you very much, High Regent. Just get on with it. Quick explanation here. Tremors are extremely secretive, and a Tremere Chantry is a very dangerous place to be in. They tend to have all kinds of spells and wards and things like that. If you don't step on the correct plank, for example, going through a corridor, you might blow up and things like that. So here, Aisling is both threatening and genuinely warning her that it might be dangerous. Just get on with it. My time here is practically up, and I found nothing of use. It seems Agathon was completely dedicated to his work. Even his personal quarters are as barren as it gets. No personal touch whatsoever. Nothing I could go by. It's all research, research, research. He seems like such a bore. Focus, Julia. What would you do if you were a warlock workaholic? Where would you leave clues to your whereabouts? What would you do if you found yourself in mortal danger and wanted Dakota to know? That ghost again. It's loose. There's more than one. Was that? Yeah. It was facing this way, huh? I approached the place where I saw this shadowy silhouette appear. It's a brick wall, and one of the bricks is loose. Kadir and Aisling are in another room right now, still discussing the party. It's not that bad. You ought to learn how to find humor in these little things. It's the meaning, Sheriff. That's all there is to it. It's time. I work the brick loose until I can grip it. Then, I tug it as silently as possible, revealing a hole in the wall. Inside, there is a book. I browse through it quickly. Agathon's diary. That's a bingo. Your 10 minutes are up. So are your 15 minutes, in fact. Are you done here? If I could just get 5 more minutes, I still feel like I could stumble upon something here if I just look a little more. No way, Julia. Time to go. Fine. I put the brick back and take the diary with me. It did look like Agathon left it so that someone in the Chantry could find it. Presumably the High Regent, but my investigation takes priority for now. I bid Kadir and Aisling adieu and start looking for a secluded place to read the diary. This place right here should be secluded enough for me to browse through the diary in peace. I start quickly skimming the book, singling out sentences and paragraphs that look interesting, trying to get a general idea of what kind of person Agathon was. Or is, I hope. The more I read... Who is that? Agathon, maybe? I've never actually seen Agathon. When I played Coteries of New York, I did try to get to meet him, but apparently I took all the wrong choices because I could not get through Aisling. She refused to let me see Agathon. The more I read, the clearer the image of the person becomes. He's been working under the High Regent for 15 years. I like how they did the smoke effect that essentially forms the image of Agathon. The metaphor here is pretty damn cool. There's an underlying shame in the way he talks about Tremere magic. He always describes himself as too slow on the uptake, too late to learn something, too much of an amateur. He was really into tying his self-worth to his wisdom. The entries beginning in 2012 are terrifyingly regular. The handwriting is extraordinarily neat. The author's absolute dedication to his studies is palpable. If there's anything to his own life besides work, it's his relationships with the 3 important women he holds dear. The first is his master, Aisling Sturbridge, whom he reveres for her knowledge, stoicism, and willingness to experiment. I was hoping to find some details about her secretive work here, but no dice. Looks like he was willing to risk someone finding all about his inner life, but not anything that could harm her studies. A good pupil, serving a good mentor. I'm jealous. The second is another warlock, his ex-lover Juno, whom he feels guilty about. They had a conflict in which Aisling was involved. Having to choose between the two, he chose Aisling. According to Agathon, there was never real love between him and Juno. First it was just shared interests, then a growing disconnect, and ultimately guilt, which made him feel responsible for her. But maybe it's just excuses. He strikes me as the kind of person who spends most of his time inside his head. Doesn't sound like someone you could have a fulfilling romance with. Dakota, that one time in high school, don't dwell on it. I'd be interested in click on Dakota to get more background information on them both, but I feel like we're in too much of a deep shit type situation that I would rather she focused on the case. I know what you're doing, Julia, but this is not a rabbit hole you'd want to be stuck in right now. Keep reading. Anyway, last but not least, Agathon's mortal granddaughter, Sylvia. She is the light of his life and the person who took care of him after his parents died in a ritual murder. Not quite what I expected. Her family used to serve a cruel vampire in New Mexico. It was retribution for their escape. She was the lead Tremere used to track him down, actually. He was keeping her alive for a long time, but a few months ago her heart gave up. Agathon blamed his insufficient skills, the kind of man who carries the entire world on his shoulders. Left alone with Aisling, he drowned himself in work, and eventually burned out. But it doesn't sound like Sylvia's death was the only event that triggered his depression spiral. There was some kind of incident back in 2019. He doesn't cite specifics. Another thing he was worried about writing down. It's all vague mentions of a person who made him fly too close to the sun. Whatever happened, it had the same effect as his grandma's death. New York started feeling like a home to him. It became alien, empty, grotesque. His words. I checked the first page. There's a recent photograph of him glued to the inner side of the cover. He's facing away from the camera, only showing his profile and striking a rather dramatic pose. At first it looks kind of poserish to me. However, upon closer inspection, it seems like a goodbye photo. The final melancholic glance he throws in your direction before disappearing for good. There's also a single black feather. No idea what it means. Something is written next to the photograph with a lot of flourish. It looks like a poem. More than annoyed, sad. More than sad, unhappy. More than unhappy, suffering. More than suffering, abandoned. More than abandoned, alone in the world. More than alone, exiled. More than exiled, death. More than dead, forgotten. The Sedative, 1917, by Marie Laurencin. Looks like he wrote it down recently. It might have resonated with his emotional state over the past few months. Most importantly, it seemed to confirm his intent with this diary to me. The general idea seems to be his research will outlive him, so he doesn't even detail it. Still, he wanted some kind of tangible memory of who he was left for. Still, he wanted some kind of tangible memory of who he was left for posterity. Okay. But that's not all. There's still a mystery to be solved. Quite a few of the pages towards the end are missing, but it doesn't look like they were necessarily removed to redact information. They were torn off in a way that makes it clear the paper wasn't even used. What's more, the preceding pages are empty as well. Could it be that... That's when it happened again. I notice a bizarre shape in my peripheral vision. Bleed. I turn to catch a glimpse as fast as possible, but it's already gone. If my heart could beat faster right now, it would be jumping out of my chest. It's discomforting. I've been seeing these apparitions ever since I turned into this. The worst part is I feel like they were always there. Even as a mortal, they were there sometimes in the corner of my eye, disappearing when I tried to look directly at them, making me think it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But when you're part of the Night Clan, there are times they don't disappear. There are times they talk. There are times they try to force you to do their bidding. And worst of all, no. I don't want to think about it right now. Still, in my experience, they aren't exactly, I don't know, consciously malevolent. This one in particular was trying to help. I opened a book on the first empty page and look around to make sure nobody's staring. Then I cut myself using a razor I keep in my pocket, just in case. It's not a deep slice. I just want to let a droplet of vitae fall onto the page. That's when the letters appear. Boss Callahan. Look at me. A clown. No longer confident that any of my people can be trusted, I turn into a fucking, I guess, spick. A Camarilla spick at that. Reserved contempt. What are you waiting for, boy? Laugh at me. Ridicule is all I deserve. Come on, don't just stand there like an idiot. You want to say something, say it. What the hell? This is the last thing I expected to happen. This diary is haunted? A series of quickly changing sentences and images composed of shadows and blood give me a window into another reality. It's not an objective view. It's like scattered remnants of emotions, similar to a half-remembered dream, full of holes but an honest expression of one's mind. Might it be interacting with me? It's just a hypothesis, but I don't know why else it would show me Callahan. And was that Ellis Island? Right. This time I don't even look in its direction. The voice makes me feel oddly confident about what I need to do. I pick up the feather that was in the diary and dip it in my vitae. Then I write down. Compassion, confusion, contempt. Callahan was hinting that I should be showing him contempt, so I'll try with that. You sold out your ideals long ago, old man. You're a shithead, a coward, a bigot, a failed leader, hated by everyone serving you. Of course I have nothing but contempt for you. Ha ha ha. Good. Finally some honesty. Now we can talk to each other like equals. It doesn't feel like this is the way these events took place. It's more like a way to explore Agathon's emotional truth about the way it all unfolded. In any case, the diary is reaching to me, reacting to me, and some shade of the truth is better than nothing. It's a handy tool, and if I use it right, I might find some clues that could aid me in my investigation. There are a few thoughts floating around in my head, like alien entities trying to make their way out. Is that also an effect of the diary's power? Let's try. I have a choice of death, destiny, and dream. Now we can talk like equals. Okay. Let's try death. It might tell us what happened to either Callahan or Agathon. Is it the fear of death that drove you to contact me? Don't be ridiculous. I've been ready to die since before you even came out of your mama's womb, boy. No, I fear something worse. So when you heard about their plot, yes, I wasn't afraid it would fail and leave me for final death. I was afraid it would succeed. God damn it. What are the two of you talking about? Why did you meet? Explain seems a bit too obvious, but let's try it anyway. I've shared my intel with you. Is there anything you know that I might need to know? You've gotten yourself into a giant mess, boy. You think what you know is bad? You don't know half of it. But if you want to resist, first off, you're going to have to bite the hand that has been feeding you for so long. Blood running cold. All the scribblings disappear, and another set starts taking their place. The diary conjures an image of a completely different place. I instantly get a feeling of déjà vu. I process the space differently. The atmosphere is different, more familiar, homely. But this is unmistakably the Tremere Chantry I visited earlier tonight, and standing there is just the person I'd expect. Looks like that's it for my meeting with Callahan, goddammit. But what if the person he was talking about and eliciting a strong emotional reaction from was Aisling? The diary awaits my next command. Oh. I'm no longer streaming, it seems. Oh no, I'm still streaming. Okay, sorry. That was a bit weird. Something happened on my screen here, and there was something odd with the chat. Yeah, yeah, okay. Sorry. I thought I had connection issues today, quite a lot of it, so I just assumed that something went wrong with the stream. Thank you very much, Stanel, for confirming that I'm still streaming. The buttons here kind of reset. That was weird, but okay, we're still here. So let's finish this section and call it a night. The diary awaits my next command. Why, when, who? I think why is a better question. We have not enough context to have a good choice, but at least why should come with some kind of explanation. High Regent. Why? Why? You can't be serious. These experiments need resources, and I wouldn't be able to provide all the needed materials in a reasonable time frame all by myself. It's quid pro quo, and it's not like my research isn't helping Hall Kindred in a something run. In the long run, I think she's going for. I don't feel comfortable being a part of this at all. I always thought we were busy with science, not politics. These are the words of a child, Agathon. Science has always relied on politics, and politics on science. Not like this, High Regent. Don't embarrass me, Agathon. Not like this. The moving scribblings disappear again. I hastily let another drop of blood fall on the page. What appears this time is yet another familiar face. Thomas Arturo. Ah, yes. Agathon. What is it you wanted to tell me? Fuck you, go to hell, or you goddamned rats. Well, I feel like these are mostly equivalent, but I'm gonna go with you goddamn rats. The implication of you goddamn rats is that Arturo probably betrayed him somehow, so I'm thinking like this accusation will tell us more. You goddamn rat! I beg your pardon? The harpy vanishes. Yeah, right. As if I could ever gather courage to say this to your face. But the least I can do is try and stab you in the back. The diary ends here. I spill a little more vitae on the page, but it no longer works. I suppose that's it. Still no idea what happened to Agathon. Is he alive, or is he dead? I'm gonna keep hoping for the best, I guess. Alive. Maybe Dakota is right. I've been a glass half-empty buzzkill too often. I will brace for the worst but hope for the best. The way he left his diary for someone to carry on his work, the hints he strategically left inside it, he's got this all planned out, no doubt about it. I choose to believe I will see him again one night. Maybe I'll even compliment that jacket he has. And we have gotten the glass half full trait. Interesting. In any case, I think it's time to pay a visit to the art hole. I know Arturo tends to leave the Elysium quite often to take in some fresh air and message people in his BlackBerry, so I just wait until I see him. The tactic works. He's surprised to see me. Miss Sawinski. Shouldn't you be busy with your investigation? I am, actually, which is why I've come to see you. That's peculiar, because I'm absolutely sure I have nothing to do with this case. Aren't you barking up the wrong tree? That's what I'm here to find out. I assumed you'd want to see I'm thorough. Yes, sure. I suppose it's commendable. What is it, then? I have reasons to believe that in the last few months, you, the High Regent Aisling Sturbridge, and her child Agathon were involved in a secretive scheme. His expression changes ever so imperceptibly, but the difference is palpable to me. For the first time ever, he looks at me as a person. Up until now, I was just an amusing diversion. Now, I'm something more, and he doesn't like him. He doesn't like it. What gave you this idea? I'm not at liberty to say. If you really want to know, ask the sheriff. Of course, Kadir doesn't know anything, but he's the only one in the court that Arturo has repeatedly failed to influence. He'll think twice before approaching him. I fail to see how this matter relates to the task at hand. I have every reason to think Baron Callahan was involved, and that he might have had grounds to fear for his life because of said scheme. He stands now. Do I have the upper hand? Miss Sowinski, please answer the question. The delicate matter you are speaking of has absolutely nothing to do with Baron Callahan's grim fate. It's a strictly confidential affair. It would be wise of you to stop pursuing it. It would be wise of you to fuck off. I can't be an investigator if I'm not allowed to properly investigate. This matter is unrelated to your work and should be treated as such. I'm 100% convinced Prince Panhard would agree. If you insist on pursuing it further, we can take it up to the prince and see if her stance differs from mine. But I think you aren't as naive as to waste her time this way. And besides, she'd certainly want you to present the basis for your discovery to the court. Could you handle it? Maybe if, So those are not good options. I guess I is more assertive than the other ones. Okay. They were all fake answers. I have no response, goddammit. This is revenge for invoking Kadir, isn't it? I thought so. Is the High Regent inside? She is. But don't worry. I'll make sure to tell her not to waste your precious time, Miss Sowinski. So that's how you're gonna play it, you bastard. Well, I guess you win this round. The strategic retreat is my only choice here. I don't have a full deck of cards yet, but just you wait. In a few nights. I'll take my leave then. Yes, do that. And if I may be so blunt, focus on the investigation avenues that aren't utterly imbecilic and suicidal to pursue, miss. I bid you adieu. I curse him out under my breath as he disappears inside the art hole. Guess this avenue really is cut off from me, at least for now. 3 names left on the list. I still have some leads to go by, but for now, it's getting late. I should go to St. Patrick's and find my latest report. When I reach the cathedral, Father Leonard is already there. He's not exactly the most punctual person, so I always feel relieved to see him from afar. Time to move in and move out before I'm noticed by Benoit. Will this be all? I guess so. I rattled off most of it in a hurry on the way here. I'll come up with a more exhaustive report tomorrow night. Busy? Looks that way, Father. Our wayward girl has finally been recognized by her superiors. Here we go again. Of course he had to sneak up on me. If even you heard about that, I guess this means every single kid in the 5 boroughs know. I know you're an expert when it comes to knowing who's saying what and where, but the last time we met, you promised to share that knowledge with me. Yeah, I was kind of lying. That's the 9th commandment broken, Father. Shouldn't you scold her? Don't involve me in your silly games, Benoit. The way you fall for obvious lies stem from your biggest failing in communication. And that is, you only pay attention to the what that's being said, and not the how. That's booyah, motherfucker! Suck it! Annihilated with an absolutely flawless diagnosis. Child, don't make me regret siding with you. I'm sorry, Father. Won't happen again. Especially if you promise to keep verbally destroying that clown. You're in a strange mood tonight, child. Go get some sleep. Yeah, we'll continue this tomorrow. I'm not showing up here tomorrow. Yes, you are. Stop breaking the 9th commandment. See you around, Julia. He says my name in a sickly sweet way that gives me the creeps. I bow to Father Leonard, do my best to ignore Benoit, and head for Dakota's place. Finally, my haven. For those who don't know, a haven is essentially a place where vampires are safe, essentially, where they can sleep and not die because of daylight. Hey, Hey, another tough night? You don't know the half of it. Want a drink? She points to her neck. I manage to summon a faint smile. I'd love to, but you know we can't do this too often. Maybe tomorrow. You want to talk then? Yeah, I guess so, just not about work, okay? I sit down next to her. Not about work, got it. What's on your mind then? The past, I guess. Meaning? How spotty our memories are, and how despite that, that's what we build our convictions on. Sorry, it's so banal. I'm just tired and frustrated. Well, let's talk about something more specific then. What do you remember about the time we first met? The time we first met? Yeah. Shit. Not a lot, actually. Those were gloomy, anxious days. I think I subconsciously replaced most of them with blank spaces. I remember you trying to paint your hair black. Ouch. Don't dig up my trauma now, okay? I remember that when we first talked, we talked about hausu. Don't say hausu, it's low-key racist, I think. Nobody ever knows what you mean by house. That show with the asshole doctor? No, the Japanese haunted horrors film that feels like it was written by a 7-year-old with ADHD. In the best way. In the best way, duh. We were arguing which characters from the movie both of us are. You were Kung Fu, and I ended up as Prof, which was rude. You were dressed up like a total nerd, not my fault. What was the deal with that suit? I liked that suit. Yeah, it was okay. I remember helping you out of it with graphic design. Sorry. I remember helping you out with graphic design whenever you needed it. Funny, I remember you needing help with writing as something that tended to happen far more often. Yeah, we developed a fun shared aesthetic with similar surface concerns, and it bonded us together even before we made sure we were fully compatible deep down as human beings. Hell, I'm still not sure we are, especially now with me not being a human being anymore. But hey, at least we both agree that this bedroom feels super comfy. I remember always feeling left out of your social circles, always knocking at the door from the outside. There was a shape there. Or probably like wraith-like shapes all over the game, and I'm just noticing them for the first time. Except for the couple of times where they were obvious, I mean. Oh, forget it. My social circles were full of out-of-touch snobby assholes. Yeah, but it felt weird how they avoided me. And there was that one time with Isabella. All of a sudden, one thing Isabella said at that one party flashes in my mind with startling clarity. After midnight, in that kitchen, without context, she just walked up to me and... She will isolate you. She will suck you dry and she'll move on to the next target. That's the only thing she knows. Ugh. Don't remind me of Isabella. She's always resented me. It's been so long and it's all baseless conjecture now, but what if she really did isolate me on purpose back then? Nah. The glass is half full. The past is Schrodinger's cat and all that. Better to believe in a positive version of events. Come to think of it, friend or foe, if you don't believe they're on your side, they will know it one way or the other. And then it's 100% certain they won't be on your side. Maybe optimism really is the way. Yeah, forget Isabella. Let's just drop this talk. I'm frustrated enough. I need a reset. Sounds like a good idea. Off to sleep? Yeah. Gotta get ready to go back to hell tomorrow. Alright, I'll get back to work. You're working remotely again? Yeah. My office is going insane for so many reasons, and I'm getting cabin fever too. Get some sun. It will be good for you. Look who's talking. Good night, sunshine. Good night. Another achievement, the Vampire Diary. And we are resting. A few minutes after I wake up, I see a message slipped under the apartment's front door. Kadir? Yep. Looks like he got a short window to meet me in Queens a few hours from now. Willet's point. A single suggestion. Get ready for action. Fine then, I will. Best way to do it would be to clear my mind. Just walk without thinking. Reset the framework. Some fresh air should do it. Maybe a chance meeting with someone could get me out of this mental rut. Let me look at the world from a different angle for a while and improve my mood. Although when it comes to improving one's mood, nothing beats some crimson red pouring down my throat. Not to mention these cigarettes taste best with a full stomach. Let's go. Okay, so tonight we're gonna stop here, but tonight in game terms we have two options for next time. We have that's my table, there's no place like home, and I need a little piece. Big beat burger, here I come. But wait, who is this loon? Or we could go hide and seek for dummies. I'm being tailed. The last thing I need right now is a weirdo stalker following my every step. Did I take this investigation too far down a rabbit hole? I don't know which one I will be taking, so I'm gonna stop here for now, and we will make a choice next week. So thank you very, very much for coming tonight. That was almost a full extra hour. I'm sorry about that. I prefer to stop on these screens, essentially where we have a choice. I feel like I'm sure that the game is saved and it's a good spot to end. We're not in the middle of a story thread. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you very much for being there, to everyone in the chat, and see you all next week where we will pick it up from here.